going inward towards the I, sometimes I hear, be with the I, and it's a simple thing to be with the I. I mean, I, right? I. You can't, in some ways, you can't get away from the I, you know. But then there's also a different way of what I identify as I is often enmeshed in some sort of sensation or some sort of thought or some sort of, it's that up against something else that is, I am identifying. And self-inquiry to me is recognizing that and then going, okay, well, what's aware of that sensation? And that means turning towards something that that is more quiet, right? The first I I'm turning towards is not, it probably really is quiet, but in my identification, it's not quiet. It's either a sensation or it's a thought or something. And if I recognize that and then turn from that, then it's more of an effort. I'm turning towards something that has nothing that I'm bouncing against. It's just, but that's harder to maintain, because after a while agitation rises, and I will go do something or look for something else. Or so I guess my question is, should I continue trying to do both of those things? Should I just turn towards the more immediate I that often identifies as a sensation, or should I keep trying to? Because what happens is I will say, okay, well, here I am with the sensation. I want to turn within to what's aware of the sensation. And then after a while, and sometimes can maintain that for a while. By a while, I mean a matter of some minutes, um, or some tens of minutes even. But then after a while, it's back out of it. And then I have the thoughts, oh, you didn't do that well enough. You can't stay with that. You can't, which is what you were saying. So kind of between those two is my question.
Sure. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you for the question. So again, I guess it's a similar question, or perhaps the same question as, what is the technique of self-inquiry? Which is the best technique of self-inquiry? Do I go to this eye, or do I go to that eye? Or do I turn my attention towards something, or what do I do? Now I'm going to ask a question that I don't want you actually to answer. It's just a rhetorical question. I want to say it, and then I want to have a dramatic pause for effect, one of those ones, not a dramatic pause and someone answers the question. Yeah. Why does any of this stuff matter? Why are we trying so hard to understand this technique? Why are we trying to figure out how to do self-inquiry? Now, I know the obvious answer, which is something like, I want to realize who I am. And you and other people have said this is the way to do it. And I've done my inquiries and my investigations, and this is the way to realize myself. So this is what I'm going to do. But I just want to go back to that question again. In light of your question, Jimmy, your question is essentially, how do I do self-inquiry? What do I do? Right? And you've described some issues, difficulties you're having. Why are we trying to do self-inquiry like this? Dramatic pause, question hanging in the air. Does that make sense? Do you feel something? I don't know. Why are we trying so hard to be what we are? Why is it? I don't want you to answer. I don't want you to give me an answer. That's not the point of the question. The hope is that the question, the way I'm formulating it, the way I'm phrasing it, is going to lead you to an answer, a different kind of answer. That you won't get to that answer if you're trying to think of an answer. Self-inquiry, the method of self-inquiry cannot be fully described, explained. It is something you will intuitively and naturally do if you follow your own spiritual impulse, genuinely, truly. Yeah. Not if you follow your own impulses. No, your own spiritual impulse. Again, if someone says, I've just said I can't explain exactly what self-inquiry is. If someone says, well, Tom, what's spiritual impulse? I also can't explain what that fully is either. But these words and the way these teachings are delivered are clues. They're clues for you. Yeah. These are all clues. Here's a clue that Bhagavan gives to us. He says self-inquiry is the easiest thing. Bhagavan gives us this clue. Self-inquiry is the easiest thing. Now, maybe you don't feel too happy when you hear that sometimes, depending on where you're at. You might hear that and think, oh, great. You might feel a bit more violent in your responses, depending on how well you're doing with your self-inquiry. He gives us a clue. Self-inquiry is the easiest thing. What is easier than to be with yourself, know yourself? Why are we struggling? What are we struggling for? What are we trying to do? Are we trying to follow a recipe in a book? How to make marmalade? Oh, do I do it this way? Do I stir it this way? Do I add this much sugar? We're not trying to make something, are we? We're not trying to create something. We're not trying to transform ourselves. We're not trying to attain something. There's nothing, you don't need to, let me phrase it this way. You don't need to attain anything. There's nothing you need to do in an additive way. There's nothing you need to add. What is the thing that is closest to you? So close to you that it is you. That is Bhagavan. That is the self. That is God. It's the Holy Trinity. From the Holy Trinity, Christianity, we have the Holy Trinity. Bhagavan has given us his Holy Trinity as well. It's the same thing as the Christian Holy Trinity, I think. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I think. God, Guru, Self, these are one. This is what we are. Self means I. God means the divine power. Guru means the teacher, often in human form, such as Jesus or Bhagavan. These are one. These three are one. I never understood what the Holy Trinity meant. My mind was boggled by it when I went to church and they told me that these three different things are one. Through Bhagavan's grace, it all makes sense. At least my interpretation makes sense. What is the teaching? Where is the teacher? Where is the result? Where are we going to find what we're looking for? How are we going to find it? Through effort? Again, I want these questions to be hanging. I don't want anyone to answer them, please. Not using the mind. So again, I'm going to give another example, slightly mocking the mind. I'm not mocking you, Jimmy. Remember, the mind. This is what everyone is doing in some way or other. You know, you flip to the book on self-inquiry. Page 82 says you do this. You know, page 97 says you do this. Page 400 and whatever says you do this. Or which? Oh no, I've got 3 options. Which one do I do? Is this what self-inquiry is? Is this spirituality? Is this spirituality? Is this how we discover Bhagavan, our beloved? Bhagavan means our beloved. Whenever we go outward, we suffer. Isn't this true? Maybe some of you see that, maybe some of you don't. But contemplate that. Whenever we go outward, we suffer. Whenever we accept that we are a body, mind entity, living in a world, we suffer. We experience pleasure, pain, that's suffering. We have hopes, we have fears, that's suffering. We have desires, we have fears, that's suffering. We have decisions to make, suffering. We witness birth, life, and death, suffering. Throw illness in there as well, suffering. We witness health and illness, this is suffering. In Bhagavan, none of that is there. How can any imperfection remain in Bhagavan? As soon as you accept the identity, I'm a person, you've fallen into the 100-mile deep pit of ignorance. As soon as you take on the identity, it's being the body mind, you are in that 1,000-mile pit of ignorance. The pit's got deeper. As soon as you take on the identity of I'm the body mind, you're in that 10,000-mile deep pit of ignorance. As soon as you take it on for 1 millisecond, you're fully into ignorance, fully in Satan's grasp. I don't know if any of these words are helpful in any way. Maybe they land in some way. The mind might come back, but this, but that, but what about, but then this happens, but that, but this, but that, you see? What can you do? If you believe all that stuff, if you go into that stuff, if you go into that stuff, then you're in that stuff. If you interact with the mind, then you're interacting with the mind. What can you do? You're already 1,000 miles deep in ignorance. You're saturated with the mud of ignorance. But you're never really. It's only if you think you are, then it appears that way. Come out. Don't venture into that place. You know what place I'm talking about? I'm talking about the mind. Be with Bhagavan. Here's what you are. Here's your love. Your greatest love. Your greatest love is yourself, not the body mind. Your greatest love will appear to be the body mind, your own body and your own mind. As long as you think that's what you are, then you think you're in love with the body mind. But when you realize that's not what you are, you fall out of love with the body mind. You fall out of love with Satan. You fall out of love with ignorance, Maya. Okay. What do you think, Jimmy? Did that help in any way, or I don't know?
Is that rhetorical?
That last one was not rhetorical. You may answer if you want to. You may.
It's hard to answer because
How did it? I guess, what's your response? Do you have a response, or what is your response? Or would you just like to sit with it for a bit?
well, I had several responses, but the longer I sat with it, the less valid they were. No, I think I'm good.
Good, good. Much love to you, Jimmy. Again, love having you here. Absolutely love having you here.